Hello, hello. So today I'm going to be talking with American professional volleyball player Simone Lee. We're going to be talking about mental health and the importance of de-stressing and her new venture on her IGTV called 60 Seconds with Simone. So some background. Obviously, you were an outside hitter for Penn State University, and for anyone who doesn't know, Penn State literally has 7 NCAA national championships, one of which Simone was on the team for in 2014 as a freshman. You're also an ABCA first team All-American and a member of the U.S. women's national volleyball team. And you've been playing pro for the last few years, and now you're headed to play in Japan again for the upcoming season. So you are obviously a current professional volleyball player, and you're going to be heading to Japan very soon. So how are you doing, and where are you currently?
I'm doing well. I feel like as well as any of us can be doing right now. I mean, it is a global pandemic, so it's a little strange. I mean, I've been home. I'm home in Wisconsin right now from Menominee Falls, and I've been home since about March, which has been probably the longest time I've been at home since I was in high school. So it's a very different experience, but I mean, it's something that I feel like as much as it's unfortunate that my season ended early, it's also very nice because I'm with my family now. I'm able to grow in ways that I didn't think I needed to grow or didn't even think that I could have grown in. And I really feel like this is a season of change for me that I'm really feeling fortunate enough to be a part of.
Yeah. And so going into that, like you said, you've had a ton of time to be home with your family and really think of different ideas. So to talk about 60 Seconds with Simone, how did the idea come to you and what inspired you to create that?
So 60 Seconds with Simone is definitely something that I have kind of thought about for a while. And it was one of those things where I just had to pull the trigger. I just had to say, you know what? Whether it reaches 10 people, whether it reaches 100 people, like, this is something that I'm passionate about. And because I felt so strongly about just sharing the message of positivity and sharing things that have helped me, whether it be de-stressing or comforting others or even just journaling and meditation, I feel like those are things that a lot of people can benefit from. And it might not be things that people are comfortable talking about. So if I can be kind of like a segue or a middleman into creating that environment to have a conversation about your own mental health, about your own life situation, I feel like that's something that I would be happy to do and that I am happy to do.
Hi, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of 60 Seconds with Simone. Today, we're going to talk about self-forgiveness. Who here has fallen off the wagon? I know that I have for sure.
Yeah, and so who is your target audience when you thought of this idea for it?
My target audience is, I mean, I know personally, I think it's to start my friends. I think that I have a lot of people that I want to connect with all the time. And obviously you can't reach out to everybody, but this in my mind was a way kind of to connect and share what I'm feeling with them in a way that keeps people in the loop. I think it keeps people aware of my situation and like kind of my mental state as well, because a lot of times I think where I get and where a lot of people get distracted is that we end up kind of dumping emotions on people that aren't emotionally available or emotionally ready. So I think that was my first target audience, was just people that I genuinely know and that I want to reach out to, but maybe they're not emotionally ready to talk about something, or vice versa. I'm not ready to talk about it. And so then I guess the second audience that I had in mind was younger players and younger, just women, men, whomever it might be. I think that especially now we're all at home, we all have plenty of time on our hands. We've all made 60 loaves of bread and made sweaters like in macrame and whatever home crafts that you can think of. And this is something that I think people want to talk about also, because we have time. Like, you're alone with your thoughts for so long now that you might as well grow from it, right? You might as well make yourself a better version of who you already are. And I think that when people, especially young girls, especially young guys, realize those things early. I mean, I'm 23. I feel like I'm kind of picking up on some of the stuff late. You know, if you're a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old trying to figure out and navigate who you want to be in this world, and you can watch one of my videos and say, hey, maybe I do need to start meditating or journaling or breathing in a certain way that can help keep me calm in faces of adversity. I think that's something that's really important. And I think that the earlier you learn about it and the earlier you learn about yourself, the more in tune you'll be with who you are and who you want to be in the future.
Right. And so how has your mental health and your mental health practices evolved over time? Since you talked about, young players starting that journey and, maybe the earlier that they start could be really beneficial for them. As you said, you're 23 now and you're really just now learning all these new things. So how has it evolved over time from when you were younger and, playing volleyball as well, maybe high school, college, and now to professional?
Yeah, I think that's like a really good question, because it's not a matter of like I did X, Y, and Z, and now I'm here, and now I wish it worked that way, but it just doesn't. I think I'm fortunate to have my mother and my father be very positive, impactful people in my life. My dad's a business owner, so he's kind of shown me what it takes to be a leader, what it takes to be a businessman. And then my mom, on the other hand, was a VP at Chase Bank for years. She came home and started being a stay-at-home mom for my sister and I. So I learned like what it means to be sacrificial in your life for those you love. I learned a lot of things from her, just when it comes to knowing who you are. She and I are very similar, and we've kind of known who we are, known who we were since a very young age. And I think that just being able to be surrounded by her and being able to be surrounded by like my sister and my other friends has really kind of like steered my path of learning about my mental health in a direction that's positive. I think that when you talk about mental health, it's not always like she needs to go to therapy. It's for some people it might be therapy. For some people it might be journaling. For some people it might be this, just having conversation with friends. I think it makes a difference when you know at a young age what works best for you.
Right.
And I've learned personally that I journal. I have my journal right here every single day. I am writing in this bad boy, and I feel it's a stress reliever. And sometimes I write a lot, sometimes I write a little. Sometimes I think about my friends and I write about them, or just whatever comes into my mind. I've known that this has helped me deal with a lot of stressors in my life. For a lot of other people, I know that just having someone to talk to and having an ear that's going to be open and listening to them can be helpful as well. I think that it's not like socks where it's like one size fits all, I think it's very much of you kind of figuring out what you want and what you need as a person. And there's nothing wrong with trying different things. If journaling doesn't work for you, maybe talking to a friend. If that doesn't work for you, maybe try some yoga and deep breathing meditations. It's finding out what works out for you. But if one thing doesn't work, that doesn't mean we have to cancel out everything else.
And actually, that's great that you said that, because that was another question of mine was going to be, how do you help people maybe find what works for them? Because, like you said, with meditation, with therapy, it's like there's so much saturation of that, but there's not so much like direction to help people find what really works for them. So I guess then I would ask you, how did you figure out what worked for you?
I definitely think that I have done a lot. I tried a lot of things. I think when I was in high school, I relied a lot on my parents just because they are the people that I was around the most. They have the most experience in life. Like, I have older parents, and so they've definitely been around the block. They've seen a thing or two. And so when I was in high school, I definitely relied on them. Going into college, I did rely on my coaches a lot. My freshman year, you're a shy freshman. You're kind of getting used to everything. It's a big campus. It's a new team and all of these different things that are happening in your life. But as I got older, I realized that if I want to be the best version of myself I can be, I have to surround myself with the best people. And in my mind, like, my teammates were amazing. My teammates were absolutely amazing. I can individually name people on my team. Every single person has taught me something.
Yeah.
And I think that when you get to the point where you can learn from everybody, I think that's where you can grow. You know, it's not, and you have to take things with a grain of salt, obviously, because your coach can be yelling at you in one breath and then be like, hey, you know what, you're going to do fine, everything's going to be okay in the other. So it's definitely taking things with a grain of salt, but if you can be as open as you can to learning things from everybody, not just, oh, this is my best friend and I've known them for 5 years, so I'm only going to listen to them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, but it's like the woman behind you at Panera could be spitting facts at you, and if you don't pay attention, or if you don't really think like, hey, you know, she might be right about this, then you're never going to grow.
Right.
And so that's kind of what happened in college. And then now as a professional, I feel like I have kind of taken it upon myself. I was actually, before this interview, I was watching one of your videos it was like a Q&A that you did, and you were talking about how you have so much alone time.
Right.
And that's totally true. Like, being a professional athlete, I was like, oh, I'm going to be so busy. I'm going to be traveling and Euro tripping and Euro stepping.
And then you realize you do not have the time.
Right, exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. So it's like, you have time to learn about yourself. It's like, I have the option. I can either scroll on Instagram, be on Facebook, be on Twitter, be on Tumblr, be on Pinterest. I can do all of those things and never learn about myself, and then be upset when the next 5 years look exactly the same as the 5 years prior.
Exactly.
Or I can take the time to do the trial and error. So for me, my first trial and error was, and I wouldn't say trial and error, but it's trial and trial and trial. My first trial was voice recordings. So I was in Italy my first half season, and I took my phone and I would just be on the street talking, just everything that I thought, everything that I was feeling. So I was like, this is such a new environment. This is such a new area of expertise that I don't have. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to speak out everything that I'm thinking. And that was okay for a little bit. And then I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm really feeling this. Because then when you start talking out loud into your phone for quite some time, people start to look at you a little strange.
I was going to ask people on the street, like, staring.
Definitely. And especially because I'm this tall black woman in Italy
speaking English.
Phone. Yeah, it's not the best look. Let's just put it that way. So I decided. So my second thing that I did was I decided to use the notes app in my phone. So I would just random thoughts that I would have during the day, or random feelings that I would have. I still have them in my phone. I would write down the date. I would write down the time. So it wouldn't be like 1:30 p.m. I woke up and had a slice of almond toast. No, I was like, for 4:47 p.m. in the airport. Why do they have like squatty potties in the airport? Just random things like that. But whatever I was feeling,
you were journaling it.
Thinking, I had to get it out. I had to get it out somehow. And again, that works for a little bit, but Apple makes you pay for extra data. And extra storage, like,
oh my gosh! Don't even get me started on the storage. Yes. Yeah. Right. That's look. We need to download apps for meditation. Don't have space. Like, it's literally a whole thing.
Get this right. Yeah. So then after that, I got more into journaling, and I really enjoyed that process. I do a devotional. What I do in the morning, every single morning without fail, I wake up, go to the bathroom, do all my bathroom things, and I come into this room, actually, my meditation room in my home.
Right.
And I light the candle. I do a devotional. I pray. I believe in God. I believe that He has like a divine power over everything that's going on in my life. So I like to put out there into the universe, into His hands, whatever I'm facing, whatever I'm dealing with, because I think it's important to have someone to look up to. And regardless of whether or not you believe in God, whether you're a Christian, whatever it is, I believe that having somebody in your life or something in your life that you thoroughly know that will have your back 24/7 is huge.
Right.
That's what's got me through so many things. I mean, I just think about how much I've gone through as a young person, and then knowing that even though I've made mistakes, even though I have messed up, even though I've won, I've lost, I've done everything, there's always going to be somebody, God, who has my back, who's always going to be rooting for me. And for me, that's a point of, it makes me feel better about everything that I'm doing, because I'm like, you know what, it might not work, but it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm a failure. So I do prayer, I do my devotional, and then I do headspace meditation.
Right.
I finished the basics course. I was like, I need to just learn what all this is about. But now I'm kind of honing in on specific things that I want to learn about myself and about meditation as a whole. And I think that those things in the morning, starting my day off that way, has been super impactful. I mean, I wake up and I feel refreshed. I come out of this room and I feel energized for the day. I feel like I have an area of which I want my direction, the direction of my life to go. I have an intention set for the day. I have everything that I need to start my day. And whether or not it happens or unfolds the way I believe it will, or I want it to, I can always go back to my intention. I can always go back to, you know what? This isn't working for me right now. Let's refocus. Let's regroup. Let's take a deep breath. Let's take 3 deep breaths, and then let's start again.
Yeah. So what would you say were maybe like some breakthroughs or like any barriers that you had to overcome to get your mental health where it is today?
I definitely think just believing in myself. There's a lot of times, myself included, we have a tendency to think that things are worse than they actually are. You know, like, yes. I know we've all been there, especially as an athlete. Like, you're playing a match and you hit one ball in the block, or you hit one ball out of bounds, and you're like, "Oh, great, I'm garbage."
Done.
Like, oh,
Yep.
What do you think? What do they do in basketball? Tug their jerseys. Coach, take me out.
Yeah.
I'm finished. Right. But it's never as bad.
It's something so small in the grand scheme of things in a game. Like, that's one thing I actually learned too, that I'll input, like, just kind of watching myself when I was younger and how I would react to, like you said, making one mistake. And it's like slumped shoulders, head down. Like, even my coach, like at Illinois, he used to always tell me, like, he was patient with me because he knew that I was like going through a lot mentally at that time, like that I was trying to overcome. But he was like, you can't show it. Like, you can't show it like that. It's okay to like show emotion. It's okay to, you know, dang, you know, like whatever, like get mad. But then the next play, it's gone. And it has to be gone. If you hold on to it, you're just going to make more mistakes. Like, and it just, it always happens like that.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. So I think, like, going off of what you said, like, you will make mistakes, but you have to move on. And that confidence that you can build in yourself, I think, can elevate
in your mind,
your ability. Exactly. It elevates your ability to move on faster.
Right.
You know, it's definitely, I think that for me has been the biggest, most impactful thing is learning that my parents still love me. My coach still trusts. Your coach wouldn't play you if he doesn't trust you.
Right,
you know?
Exactly.
Like that's genuinely what I think about. It's like, I'll be in a match and it might not be the best match. Like I could be having like the most average match of my life, but I'm like, you know what? He trusts me enough to put me in this match in a professional setting to score him points. I'm gonna do it. You know, I'm not gonna think about, oh, he's gonna take me out or he's gonna take me out of me. No, you're still playing. You're still in
the moment you think that, you lose.
Exactly. And you're losing not only in the actual match, but you're losing in your mind. Right. You're losing your mental capacity to believe and push yourself to the next level because you're always stuck. You're always stuck behind a wall. You're always stuck behind that barrier that says, I can't.
Right.
And once you break through that barrier of saying that I can't, and you start believing in yourself, you start saying that I can do this. Right. I am able. I am a good player. My coaches believe in me. Just because I make a mistake doesn't mean I'm a bad person. Doesn't mean I'm a bad player. I can learn from the mistakes. I can move ahead. Once you start moving into those mindsets, you genuinely can break through. You can come into a point where one mistake doesn't define you, and it never will. We've all made so many. That's like when you're younger, and this is going to be really nasty, but I'm going to say it. You pee the bed. Everyone And if you held on to that when you are an infant, and every time you go to bed now, you're like, dang, I'm a failure. I'm going to bed. How do I get this job? Like, no. You don't think that, so why think it now?
Right.
Why think that now? It doesn't make, to me, now, of course, I'm like, I'm past that. It doesn't make any sense, but it used to, for sure. But now, it doesn't make any sense to not have faith in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, it makes it harder for others to believe in you.
Right. Yeah. And so with that, like, we talk about how you said, like, a part of what you're doing, you really want it to relate to young players, and, you know, for them to kind of overcome that and work on their mental health. So like, what do you do, or what has helped you to like get into your zone while you're playing? Because obviously getting into the zone is a really big part of mental health, mental focus. You know, the greats always talk about it. I don't know if you watch like The Last Dance on Netflix. Obviously, everybody's been talking about that. But to really kind of see, you know, for example, what Jordan talked about and how he was able to get into that space mentally. So like, what would you, I guess, give advice to other athletes or other people, you know, whether it's athletes, whether they're doing something with work, whoever it is, about getting into that zone and what works for you?
I would say my biggest piece of advice is to create a routine, whatever that routine might be. And again, everyone's different, and it's always going to be trial and trial and trial and trial.
Right.
I don't think I personally believe in trial and error, because you can always learn something from a mistake. There's nothing that you can't learn from a mistake.
Right.
Every lesson, everything you do in life can either be a lesson or it can be a triumph,
right.
You know? And I think that you have to start with routine. So again, for me in the morning, it has nothing to do with sport, but every single morning, again, my devotional, my prayer, my meditation, every single morning without fail, and 2 cups of water, because like you're supposed to.
yes, of course. Water's the best.
It is. Y'all hydrate. Yeah. But I think, creating that routine is really, really important. And doing something that makes you comfortable, because I think a lot of times too, we look to athletes that are at the highest level, or we look at businessmen or women who are at the highest level, and they're like, I drink 16 ounces of celery juice, and I never put my left pant leg on before the right. Like,
that someone probably served to them every single day.
Right. Right. Exactly. So it's like, if you're an 18-year-old, how about we just wake up every day and we start by making our bed?
Yeah.
Just create a routine. Or if you're looking more sports oriented, maybe it's you listen to the same song, or you have like a specific playlist that you listen to,
like for a game day or something like that.
Exactly. Or it can be as specific as you want it to be. Like, I know in college, I knew some people that would only ever do everything on the right leg first, then everything on the left leg. But for them, that's a trigger for your brain. And that's what we all need to get into the zone, is a trigger for our brain.
Right.
What's going to be that signal that's going to say, hey, I'm putting my right stuff on before my left. All right, it's game time now. It's time to go.
Right.
You know, or maybe it is. I remember my coach always telling me, he had a player one time, she would do 2 rounds of hitting lines, and then she would stand on close to the pole and just listen to what the other girls were doing on the other side when they were hitting. Like, what kind of calls are they making? What kind of attacks are they doing? And that's it. But as soon as she has those 2 attacks and one by the pole, she's like, that's it. Her brain said, that's it. It's game time. I know what I'm doing. I know how to.
Yeah.
So it's literally whatever works for you,
right.
But it has to be consistent. It has to be something that you can do every single time without fail. So it can't be like, I use my giant NutriBullet blender and I make myself a strawberry smoothie, because unless you're taking that NutriBullet blender with you on away game,
right, it's not going to work all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I know I have to have coffee. And
right.
I know that I can get coffee wherever I go.
Right.
You know, if you want to eat a specific thing, make sure you bring it with you.
Right.
Never have a time where you need to get into the zone and you're not prepared to get into the zone.
And that's a hard thing too. Mm-hmm. Like, because even for me, I kind of found, actually I've kind of figured this out this past season, because I've been trying to really figure out, like you said, find a routine for game days. And I've been doing this since college. I'm like, what's my routine? And usually I thought it was just music, but I realized like it wasn't really working in the way I wanted to. It was too inconsistent. It was way too inconsistent. Mm-hmm. It's been inconsistent. And so weirdly, like this past season, literally, I was like, okay, I found that like cleaning my room on like home, like obviously mostly for like home games, whatever, for away games, whatever. But even still in Switzerland, like even if we had away games, we would obviously be in our apartments like the day of before we left, because it's such a small country. So I could still do it, but like cleaning my room literally got me in the zone. So weird. I don't know why, but it just did. Playing music, cleaning my room, like doing laundry, whatever I need to do to make sure my room just looked perfect. And like leaving with my room looking perfect, like bed made, clothes folded, like it just really got me in a really good mood and like in the zone. But
I love that. I mean, that's
yeah.
what I say though. It's like if you have a cluttered room, your mind is going to be cluttered. You know,
exactly.
that's what a lot of people believe, and I believe that too. So I love that.
Yeah. It just really, for some reason, like grounded me, focused me. And I think too, like one thing that I kind of learned in college too was I had a coach that kind of was saying like, don't go into the game like before it, like sitting and just thinking so much about it, because then you're going to be really stressed out. So it like basically is a way for your mind to just like snap out of it. You're doing something else, you're doing an activity, you're doing something that's making you move. And you kind of have an end goal while you're doing it. Like the end goal is to have everything be tidy. So I kind of use that, and I found that it really helps. So I'm going to try it again, with this upcoming season and see how it goes. But I also want to incorporate another routine as well into my game day things that I do.
Yeah, I would definitely. I mean, I'm like such a big believer in like journaling, and I believe genuinely now that I've gotten more into it that meditation is so impactful. I mean, I just did like I'm doing like the most basic of basics meditation right now, and I use Headspace, and it is I keep saying it like sorry if you're not sponsored, like we're not sponsored, but like we love Headspace. But like if you want to sponsor us, #sponsor.
Right.
And I know. But I use the Headspace app, and I cannot even tell you. I do it for 10 minutes. I set my watch, and it just makes me think. In this meditation, it allows my mind to go elsewhere, but still during the meditation, the person who's kind of guiding you through it continues to say, okay, if you're thinking about something else, think about it, let it go, bring your mind back. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and I'm trying to really incorporate that with everything that I'm doing. So I'll go for a bike ride, and I'm like, my mind's thinking about everything. And I'm like, why don't I just enjoy being outside? Right. Enjoy the summer in Wisconsin. That happens for like 2 months out of the year. It's like, you have to be as present as you can. And I think that even for you with cleaning your room and cleaning your house and making sure everything's tidy, that's what you're doing. You're staying present in the moment. And when you're in a match, it's the same thing. You got to stay present in that moment again, because once you think, oh, now I can't do it because I messed up on one play, then it's over. You're done.
Or if you're anticipating like the rest of the game, like I want to get this kill, I want to get this, whatever, and then you're not ready when you're not
focusing on what's right there in front of you.
You're not ready when the ball comes to you. You're not ready because you're focusing on everything else other than that present moment, as you said.
Right.
Yeah. And so then I would say, like, since we're talking about being in the zone, how do you then maintain that while you're on the court, actually?
While I'm on the court, I have either a specific place that I'll look, or I have like a corner of the court that I'll go to, and it's kind of like a reset for me. Again, it's like whenever we do our pre-match ritual and our pre-match routine, that kind of snaps our brain and is like, okay, now it's game time, now it's time to go. So if I am trying to stay in the moment and trying to stay as present as possible, maybe I've seen people go to the tee where the sideline meets the 10-foot line, and they just touch their foot, stand there for like a half of a second, turn around, get ready. Or I've seen people, I'm a big physical touch person. So you like, I'm a butt slapper, I'm a shover, I do all of it. I love it. I get so excited. But for me, like to stay present, I hold my teammate's hand for like a half second. I'll pat him on the hand and I'll let it go, and I'm like, that's it. I've been doing that since college. Like Haley Washington and I played together at Penn State. You can see us. I'm reaching out. I'm like, girl, where's your hand? Come here. Like, but for me, that's what I needed. And she had no idea why I was doing it. But she was like, hey, this is just like something that Simone likes to do. And I'm like, you're right, I do. But in my mind, that helped me get focused right away. My brain was like, all right, you're holding his hand, you're taking a deep breath, you're patting on it, and you're going. That's it.
Right. How did you know that working on those different practices and your meditation, like, how did you really know that it started to work for you? Is there a time you can think of where you where it could have been, like you said, a regular day, maybe you were stressed about something and you kind of put into practice some of those things you learned, or it could have been in a game where you really kind of like realized and it clicked for you that you were like, wow, that new thing that I started doing is actually helping me.
Yeah. I think, again, just like with everything that's been going on, everything is like coronavirus and leagues getting canceled and leagues starting up again, and just all of these crazy things that's been going on. I can specifically remember just me kind of trying to decide where I wanted to go for this coming season. There were a lot of uncertainty.
Yes.
I know you can attest.
Yes, definitely. Oh.
That's one thing that people need to understand, that it's not just like, I'm just just gonna pick a team and go. It's like, no. There's plenty of things that go into it that can stress you out.
Right.
I was gonna say a 4-letter word, but stress you out.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that I started doing the meditation very close to the time, almost immediately, as soon as I came home. Like I talked to my mom and my dad, and I was like, you know what, I want to lose this weight. I want to get my mental health back on track. I want to just be the best version that I can be. And because I didn't know how long I was going to be home. So I was like, well, I'm home for either indefinitely or I'm home for months at a time, which I ended up being. It's like, you might as well learn something from this.
Right.
Like why sit at home? Why not do anything? Why stay where you are? I love getting better and I love growing as a person. I don't know about you. But
right. Exactly. I feel like you can learn so much just from even everyday, like you said earlier, everyday interactions. You can learn so much just from the little things, really, that you can put into practice, with your daily life.
Right. And so I think like just learning about like my options for this coming season and kind of taking it one step at a time. I do like really remember there was one time I was in like course number 2 of the basics, and I was like sitting down and I was meditating, and my mind was just going 180 miles an hour. I mean, I could not stop thinking for the life of me. And I just sat down, and then this was like prior to my meditation. So I'm getting into my room. I'm lighting my candle. I'm kind of getting, again, my ritual, my routine. And I'm like just spiraling out of control. I just could not stop thinking. And then I sit down for a meditation, and I out loud was like, you're going to take this next 10 minutes to just focus on being present. And then I was like, did anyone else hear that? Because that sounded crazy. Like, what are we doing here? But it worked. And I sat down. I had never been so calm in such a long time. And from that moment on, I was like, if I can feel like this all the time, I would love to.
Right.
I love the feeling of being calm and being in control of my emotions. I love the feeling of knowing how I can react to specific situations that used to cause me anxiety, that used to be stressful. I think being in such a season of uncertainty, there are so many things that could go wrong and have gone wrong. And I feel like learning and kind of breaking through that wall and really putting myself in a situation where I'm going to take this time. I'm going to be as present as I can. And if you're not present for the entire time, that's okay. But just really being focused on being present. And again, that's what really broke it through for me. That's what really kind of solidified, like, oh snap, like this meditation, this is real. Like Gandhi had it right. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so real, and it's so true when you think about how much you can learn about yourself by just sitting quietly with yourself.
Right.
That it's major. It's major.
Yeah. And so what message would you want to send to your audience then about meditation and how important it is? I would say it's super important. And again, not everything works for everybody, but I think that meditation has been proven like scientifically and has been proven like as an individual personally that to be a source of peace and a source of calm in your life, in my life. And I think that when you really take the time and do things intentionally, you sit down, sit cross-legged, lay on your back, you put your feet up, whatever it might be, and you take that time, those 10 minutes, that 20 minutes, however long, that 5 minutes, however long you want to meditate, and you sit down and you decide, you make a decision to be present in that moment, there's no way that you can't come out of that better on the other side. Right.
And I really believe that if you do all of what you can to deep breathe and listen to your body and just really understand that this is your time. There's nothing else to distract you. There's no people around. Like in this meditation room, the door always stays closed. And when people see that door closed, don't talk loud nearby. Don't come inside. Don't come out. Like, it is that person's time in this room to be as present as we can, to be as devout in our own selves as we can. I always recite like a mantra whenever I'm in my meditation room, because it makes me even more focused. So instead of my mind just kind of like TV static in there, it's like I'm focusing on something that I want to accomplish during the day, or I want to continually think about throughout the day. And it can be something that's pertaining to life immediately, or it can be something that you want to work on for the long haul. I think that patience is a really good one to use in a practice of meditation, because we all could use a little bit more of that. And
right.
I think that when we just learn how to be patient, not only with ourselves, but with others, that can elevate our sense of self-security, and that can elevate our sense of growth as a person, as an individual, and relationally. You never want to be that person who's impatient with others all the time. You never want to be that person who doesn't make time for someone else. If someone else is making the time for you, the least you can do is make the time for them.
Right.
And that comes back down to you having that patience, having that meditative state of, okay, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be present in this moment, I'm gonna talk to this person, or I'm gonna listen to myself, and I'm just gonna stay focused right here. You put force blinders on and you just think, you just listen, you just think. That's it.
Yeah. Would you say that patience is the most important aspect of managing mental health?
I think so, because no one's perfect. The phrase that everyone uses is that Rome wasn't built in a day, and it wasn't. Right. You have to be patient with yourself. There's no right or wrong way to do things. There's only your way to do it in this situation. Let me clarify. And I think that when you're patient with yourself and you understand that not only is it going to benefit you, but it's going to benefit those around you, that can really be impactful as well, because you think, oh, this is only meditation for me and it's all about my mental health, but it's like the more you take care of yourself, the more you can take care of others.
Right.
And isn't that what we're all here on this earth to do? Like, as a believer of Christ, I believe that you love your neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. So I have to learn to love myself. I have to learn how to be patient with myself. I have to learn how to trust myself, and then I can outwardly express those feelings to others.
Right.
And I think that those qualities that you want for yourself can only benefit you relationally, can only benefit you spiritually, can only benefit you mentally.
Right. So did you ever have a time that you really, really struggled with maintaining your mental health, whether that was college or pro? And, how did you come out of that? Because that's another thing too, is obviously, like, you're giving so much great information right now about just starting it, but has there ever been a time where you've kind of gone somewhere where you, like, inside of yourself, where it's been really tough to get out of that? And how did you come out of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say like my first few years in college, because obviously it's so different than high school. And then I would say my first season and a half when I was playing professionally. I think it's such a stark difference from one to the other, from high school to college and college to professional playing. And I did get to a point where I was like, man, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And is this really like what God had in store for me as a person? Like, is this the path that I'm supposed to be on in order to live my life to the best of my abilities? But I reached out because I really do believe in people, and I really believe I'm a super optimist, and so I really believe that people can show and give you such good advice if you're willing to listen. One of the things that I have worked on so much is defensiveness, because you never like to hear.
No, it's so hard.
Better. I'm like enough.
It's like the yes, but, because all of us have a problem with it. I have a problem with that. Yes,
exactly. Exactly. And so for me, that was in college. It was hard because I was like, no, but I could play in a match and I could hit terribly, but I played good defense. So I'm like, oh my, I had a good match. Then all of a sudden, like, my mom comes over here. She's like, actually, Simone, here's the stat sheet.
Why are parents always like that with the stats? Oh my gosh.
But I love them.
Right.
I love them.
Right.
Who's going to shoot it to me straight?
Exactly.
Your best friends come to the game and be like, oh my gosh, you did so well.
And you're like, I hit negative, but okay.
Right. I'm like, I was on the bench. French, so right.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, having parents too, like that, like you said, tell you exactly how it is. Like I realized it took a while, even when I was younger, but now that I've gotten older, I've realized like that's so beneficial because you know that you're always going to get the truth. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think like my parents, I looked to my parents a lot, when I was going through those transitional phases. And then I looked to, players that were my age. I looked to former coaches that I've had, to just kind of talk me through, again, their strategy. Because, again, it's trial and trial and trial, right? If I talk to one former coach and they say, hey, maybe you got to go for a walk every day and or maybe you got to talk into your phone, or maybe you got to like just all of these different things. It's like, I'm going to take their advice and try it out. But then I also, in the same breath, was being defensive about it. And I was saying like, I'm a good player because obviously I'm here. And I will admit this, one thing that held me back in the past was I thought that I made it here, so that's good enough.
Right.
But why would I ever, but now hindsight is always 20/20.
Mm-hmm.
And why would I ever just want to be good enough?
Right.
Why would I ever want to be just okay?
Right.
Subpar at best. You know, why not shoot for the stars? Why not try to make these teams? Why not try to make the best professional team, be in the best professional league? Why not eat the best because it's going to make me feel good? Why not treat my body like the temple that it is? Right? And so just because things have been good enough for a long time doesn't mean that there's no room for growth.
Right.
And once I got over that hurdle, and once I had to have my folks sit me down and be like, Simone, listen, it's either you continue to be in this cyclical part of your life where it's just, okay, I did this and it's good enough, and I did this and it's good enough, and I never progress, I never grow as a player, I never grow as a person, or the opposite, which is I learned that everything that I'm doing has gotten me this far, but it's only gotten me this far. Right. And if I want to continue to play, and I do, and if I want to continue to grow as a person and as a mature adult, and I do, then I have to grow. I have to change. I have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Right. And so being in those seasons of learning how to not take everything so personally, right? Not take everything right to heart. Right. People can say things solicited or unsolicited, and it's up to me to determine whether or not I take the advice or I don't. Right. But again, I can't be in a mindset of someone said this to me, oh, they hate me, oh, they're mean, oh, they're some. No, they're just saying it because either they believe I can be better. Right. Or it's like people give you advice because they know you can handle it. Yeah. Your coaches are hard on you because they know you can handle it. Yes, exactly. My parents brought me right back down to earth because they knew I could handle it. Exactly. Yeah, right? Exactly. But now I think, and I've talked to my folks about this, I've talked to my friends about this, and they have told me they see a shift in my attitude. They see a shift in the way I approach things, the way I ask questions, the way I receive solicited or unsolicited advice. You know, I think I have grown because I've taken a step back and looked at myself and been like, you know what? I don't want to be known as this person. You know, I want to be known as the person who can take advice, who can handle criticism, who can be a good teammate, who can be coachable. All of these qualities that I've always aspired to have. Right. I want to be that person all the time. Yep. I don't want to just show up when it's convenient for me. I want to show up when it's convenient for others. Or when it's only good. Right. Right. Exactly. I want to show up when my friends need me to be a good friend. You always expect your friends to be there as a shoulder to cry on, as an ear to listen, but I got to show up for them. Right. I got to be the best daughter I can be. I got to be the best sister I can be. I got to be the best player I can be in whatever capacity that may mean to you, but you got to keep growing. Yes. You got to keep improving. There's no limit to your ability. But the only limit you put is on yourself. Yep. The only person that said you can't do it is you. Yep. Exactly. And I think a part of like growth mindset
is being honest with yourself and being honest maybe about your shortcomings, being honest about your insecurities, being honest about the things that you know you need to work on, those things that you keep trying to like push in the back of your head and you don't want to face them. You can't grow unless you face them. You can't improve unless you face them. And I think that's the biggest thing with mental health and improving your mental health is being honest and facing that so that it becomes reality and then you can move past it. It's like a wound.
That's perfect.
It's like a wound, literally. And if you don't, it's gonna fester if you don't clean it.
Yes, exactly. And all of a sudden your like leg's gonna have to get amputated, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, this sucks. It's a spiral effect, and it's gonna be terrible for everybody involved. The doctors don't want to cut your leg off. You don't want to lose a leg.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so with 60 seconds, obviously this is something that you started now. Has it been like a month or two now? Has it been a month of it? Been about a month or two. You have 60 seconds. So, what else do you see yourself doing with it? Do you want to have a podcast? Do you want to start something on, Spotify, Apple Music? Like, what's next with this? Or is it something that, or is it something that you want to just keep on like IGTV? What's your plan? Or do you not have a plan right now? Are you just kind of going with the flow?
It's actually really funny that you said that because I have a few ideas that I've been working with a lot of my friends about. I want to do, I'm going to change kind of like the structure of 60 Seconds with Simone because there's a lot of topics that I do want to cover that cannot fit into 60 seconds or under 2 minutes is what I'm a human now. I think that there's a lot of things that other people can teach me, and that I'm very much so, again, having that growth mindset. I want to learn about people's experiences that I've never had or the way people think about certain subjects. And so I'm going to be hopefully unveiling soon. Like it's going to be a little different, more of like an interview style structure, just with people that I really believe in, people that I really think and it might not be making a big splash on the national level, but people make impacts in communities, whether we see it or we don't.
Exactly.
We don't have to see everything on the news for it to be important to us.
Exactly.
Your friends are doing great things. My friends are doing great things. You're doing great things. Like obviously this is like amazing, and this is awesome that you're like creating all this opportunity for yourself and for other people to be like shown. And I really want to do the same with my kind of thing. So I want to do more interview styles. I have honestly thought about doing a podcast. I really do love like Headspace, and I love the Calm apps. I love just kind of being that gentle voice and that gentle reminder, reminding people that like everything will be okay at the end of the day. Like there's a lot of things that are going on right now that are stressful, that might leave you in a state of worry or anxiety or even maybe depression. And I think that there's a lot of emotions that we all have had, and whether we talk about it or not, it's happened.
Right.
And being able to confront those things, and like you said, having that growth mindset and being honest with yourself is so big.
Exactly.
And it might be something that you might need someone else to talk about their experience before you're ready and willing and comfortable enough to talk about your own.
Exactly.
And I'm willing to be that person to kind of lead into that direction of talking about subjects that people might be uncomfortable with. But it's like, listen, if I can touch 10 people, if I can touch 100 people.
I was just going to bring that up. Yep, exactly. I was going to say, like, it doesn't matter, like, if you're worried about how many views it gets, like, someone will see it and it could help someone, really. And that's the most important part.
Exactly. I will never forget this. A few weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, I did an interview with a high school, and they just wanted to talk. It's a very, very diverse community and a very, very diverse volleyball team. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to these girls, and they asked me like some really good questions. And I just really specifically remember one little girl, she talked to me and she asked me, she was like, have you ever felt different from like people around you in your sport? And I'm like, as a black girl in Wisconsin, that's a yes. That's a yes for me, right? So, but the way she asked the question made it seem like she didn't think that I would say yes.
Right.
If that makes sense. I feel like she was, when I said, oh yeah, for sure, she was kind of just like, she had like the look of almost shock on her face, like, really, you? And I'm like, yeah,
definitely, yes.
This happens to everybody. But again, it might be one of those things where it's people don't fully understand because they've never gone through it or they've never seen someone else go through it. But if I can be like I don't want to say a beacon of hope, but if I can be that person that showed young girls like, hey, you can go through the same experience that I did and come out on the other side even better. You can have the experience being different or being other in your community, within your high school volleyball team, your college volleyball team, your club team, your school in general, your student body, and you can come out of it a better person.
Right.
You're not taking away the fact that you are a person of color, a minority, a woman, a man, whatever you might be, that's different than your peers. You're not taking away that fact. You're celebrating your uniqueness.
Right.
You're using that platform that you have to say, hey, I'm different and I loved it about myself. And I'm not going to shy away from who I am as a person because I might not be the norm.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been such a great conversation. I loved talking about this. And like you said, like really kind of focusing on, you know, how different it is, as you said, for us, for you, for me, like as Black women, like in volleyball, just in these spaces, you know, where we are other, obviously. And honestly, like that's another big part too of like the mental health thing. Like there's a lot that we have to do to really like focus ourselves too, and to kind of like quiet those other doubts that you have in your mind, just like you said, about being like different in a space where, you know, you really kind of stand out. And whether that's, you know, a good thing or a bad thing, like there's a lot that we have to kind of go through and, you know, work on our mental health and stuff in those spaces.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I just remember like being like the only Black girl on my volleyball teams until I was like a senior in high school. I was playing volleyball since I was 13. Like this, it shouldn't have been the case, but it was.
Right.
And I did have those thoughts in my mind. I'm like, why? And I asked my mom. I was like, so where are the other Black girls? Like, look at around. Right? But and my mom had to like pull me aside, and she's like, Simone, like this is just the environment that you're living in.
Yeah. And it's the sport, really.
Told me, exactly. But she told me, she was like, it's up to you how you perceive it.
Right.
You know, it's up to me whether or not I'm going to celebrate my uniqueness. I'm going to teach my white teammates about Black girl hair. I'm going to tell them that this is not my real hair.
Right.
Do you wash your hair every day? No.
Right. Exactly. And those are certain questions now where like with social media, like you have access. So I'm like, Google, just, you know, Google it. Right. I don't want to answer the questions anymore.
$3.99, baby. It's $3.99.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, but you know, honestly, this conversation has been so great. Thank you so much for being able to talk with me. I'm really excited to see, what'd you say?
I said, this was amazing. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. I'm really excited to see, you know, what you do with, continue to do with 60 Seconds with Simone. I think it's great, you know, that you're using your platform to talk to people about mental health, to talk to them about meditation practices, de-stressing. And I really did like how you focused too on talking about de-stressing specifically after consuming a lot of media, because that's what everyone is doing so much of right now, especially with everything happening, you know, with Black Lives Matter. And, you know, for a lot of people, like, even though we know it's not new, it's new for a lot of people, even around the world. And so it's a lot that we're seeing, taking in. And especially for Black people, like, oh my, I can't anymore. I really can't watch like the videos anymore of police brutality. It's just taking a toll. So I think that's important, is like taking time away to like breathe and just maybe be thankful in the moment that like in that moment, luckily you're not going through something like that, and thinking about ways
it's not your brother, it's not your father, but at the same time, it's like
you can't help but imagine that.
Around and be empathetic. Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. This is awesome. I really appreciate it. I love what you're doing. This is like obviously your platform that you're using, like just talking with so many people and just getting different perspectives on so many different things. I think that's amazing. It's great.
And just for us too, like I'm not only going to talk to athletes, but it's mainly athletes, because, you know, it's literally like LeBron's, you know, hashtag, like more than an athlete, like we really are more than just our sport. There's so much more that goes on with us that other people really don't get to see, because they only see us as whatever sport we play and they don't see anything else. And so it's really, really great to be able to, you know, talk with you and talk with others about the other things that we're focused on, the other things that we're doing outside of practices, outside of competing.
Hi, you guys. Welcome to episode 7 of 60 Seconds with Simone. Today we'll be talking about manifesting. In the Bible, in the book of James, chapter 2, verses 26, it says, "Just as the body is dead without breath, so also faith is dead without good works." I'm a firm believer in speaking things into existence. However, I'm not naive in my thinking that belief without work will still produce good fruit. When we want to manifest, we need to couple our strong belief that what we want to happen will happen with the work to see it come to fruition. I can manifest growth in my relationships with others, but it's still my responsibility to pick up the phone and reach out to those I love. Everyone can believe and manifest and speak life into their current situation, but what separates people is their desire to see tangible